Josh, there's a Country Living article from 2022 entitled 100 Breakup Quotes to Help Him or Her Move On. And there's a quote in it that reads, "It's so empowering to say, this isn't serving me, and move on."
Charlie, I promise you I'm fine.
No, it's an analogy. I'm Charlie.
I'm Josh.
And today we're going to be looking at what makes a rooftop ripe for solar.
And also what makes a rooftop slightly less ripe for solar, but still suitable.
And what makes a rooftop not really suitable at all.
Exactly. There are 9 key things to go through, and we are going to go through every single one.
And we are Sunsave. We've launched the UK's first solar subscription. More on that later.
Let's go.
Number 1, what direction does your roof face? A south-facing roof is traditionally the best option for solar panels, and that's very much still the case. The Microgeneration Certificate Scheme, or MCS, say that a directly south-facing roof is still the best option for solar panel output.
But the times they are changing, and an east-west array is now a completely viable option for most households. It won't produce as much electricity as a south-facing array, but it will produce it for longer in the day.
A completely north-facing solar PV array is still not a great idea, but if some of your array is northwest-facing or northeast-facing, providing it is part of a larger array that is predominantly south-facing, east-facing or west-facing, that could still work.
Unfortunately, a north-facing array just by itself still isn't a viable option, at least until house rotation services hit the market.
We can only hope.
Number 2, does your roof have enough space? Solar panels are very impressive pieces of tech, and obviously we're very proud of them here at Sunsave, but they do take up quite a lot of space. If your roof doesn't have room for big slabs of silicon, that might be an issue.
A solar panel is typically around 2 square meters in size, but an installer also needs to leave at least 3 centimeters between each panel and also 40 centimeters on either side of the array, which can all mount up. For example, a 3 kilowatt peak system could take up around 23 square meters of space on your roof.
Your installer will also need to leave extra space around any Velux windows, chimneys or vent pipes. If your roof is peppered with appendages, that might make the installation slightly less straightforward, but it could still be viable.
It's usually not worth just chucking 2 or 3 panels up on your roof. If you can't get a decently sized system, the economics usually won't make sense. We've done a whole video on why it's a good idea to get as many panels as possible. The link is in the video description. Number 3, does your roof experience any shading? The sun and solar panels have an excellent, productive relationship, but if something gets in between them, that can often cause solar panel output to drop and make a system not worth having.
Obviously, it's hard to tell whether your roof has shading on it until an installer goes up to check. We don't usually spend a lot of time on our roofs checking the shading, but if your roof has too much shading on it, it can be unworkable for solar panels.
Obviously, if you have a tree casting shade on your roof, you could cut it down or trim it back if it's your own tree. But if the shade is caused by a nearby building, you can't exactly trim that back.
Fortunately, there's technology that can help solar panel output in the face of significant shading, such as microinverters and optimizers. Any good installer will consider these options when faced with a roof that has significant shading on it and will weigh up the additional cost versus the benefits.
There are situations where even this technology can't help a roof if it's completely covered in shade, but fortunately these situations are pretty rare.
Number 4, is your roof at the correct angle?
I do hope so.
Me too. A 2019 study from the University of York found that 39 degrees is the best angle for solar panels in Yorkshire, followed by 38, then 37.
I assume the next best angle after that is 36?
You would be wrong. It's 40, then 41.
Right, and what about the rest of the UK?
Pretty much the same. According to the MCS, the ideal angle for solar panels is somewhere between 37 and 40 degrees. It's only when you start getting up to places like Edinburgh and Newcastle that it gets up to like 42 degrees or so.
If you have an angled roof in the UK, you basically don't need to worry. The vast majority of angled roofs in the UK are suitable for solar.
Flat roofs are usually where installers start to encounter problems with solar panels. This is because solar panels on a flat roof need to be weighted down with ballast to prevent wind from taking them clean off. This is a problem because ballasts weigh a tremendous amount, and that's usually too much for a flat roof to handle. Also, rain on a flat roof usually gathers instead of dispersing, and that means that when installers start drilling into the roof, leaks can happen.
Flat roofers, if you want to get solar, you will probably need to find an installer that specialises in flat roof installations, or you'll need to consider a ground-mounted system. Josh, I think it's time we talked about our solar subscription. Sunsave Plus is the UK's first solar subscription, and it is designed to unlock solar for millions of households in the UK.
With Sunsave Plus, you can switch to solar with no upfront cost All you have to do is pay a fixed monthly fee for 20 years. And it does stay absolutely fixed. No sneaky price rises, so you are fully protected against inflation from energy bills.
You will immediately start saving on your energy bills, and you will also earn income for exporting excess electricity to the grid. And these combined savings could exceed your monthly payment to Sunsave, which means you actually earn money each year despite paying a subscription. This means you don't have to wait years for payback, which is what most people have to do when they buy solar upfront.
Your best-in-class solar and battery system will also be protected by the Sunsave Guarantee, which provides total peace of mind that your system will produce clean, green electricity for the duration of your subscription, without you having to raise a finger.
The Sunsave Guarantee includes free replacement parts, including a battery and inverter, 24/7 monitoring and maintenance, comprehensive insurance provided by Aviva, and downtime cover.
Sunsave Plus is built to be flexible, so you're in charge of your subscription. Therefore, you can make a full or partial early repayment at any point without incurring any fees, charges, or penalties.
You also legally own your system from day one, which means that you will earn 100% of the export income. We don't take a cut.
Sunsave Plus also doesn't require a roof lease or airspace lease, which have historically caused problems with mortgage providers in the past.
To learn more about Sunsave Plus, head to our website, sunsave.energy. There you can read way more about our subscription, watch interviews with people who already have it, and sign up yourself. Number 5, do you have any lower roofs? A traditional house with the one roof is usually smooth sailing for solar, but a house with lots of additional bits might present a problem. If in the past you've added a conservatory or an extension, these will also have roofs, I hope. And in that case, you may have a property with lots of multiple roofs of differing heights.
The reason this is an issue is because of scaffolding. So scaffolding is a must on residential solar installations, but the feet of the scaffolding, ideally, you want to be on the ground so that it's very secure and stable.
If there's a lower roof in the way, some of the scaffolding naturally can't touch down on the ground, and it usually isn't safe for the feet of the scaffolding to be touching onto the lower roof. This doesn't mean you can't get solar panels installed, but it usually will make the scaffolding more expensive, and that's because the scaffolding will need to bridge over the lower roof and be fixed to the side of your property.
Ingenious! Number 6, does your roof have any loft space underneath it? That creepy place at the top of your house might seem like a place to just store your unwanted stuff that you barely need, but for a solar installation, it's pretty essential.
Yeah, having a loft makes a solar panel installation a lot easier. It means installers can check the underside of your roof, examine the structure, pinpoint where the rafters are, and also examine the felt, because it's very important that installers drill through the rafters, not anywhere else.
And what's more, after the installation, an installer can use the underside of your roof to check that the felt isn't torn and that the bolts have gone straight into the rafters.
If you've converted your loft, congratulations, but importantly, you still will need an eaves hatch so an installer can still check the underside of your roof.
If you don't have an eaves hatch, sometimes a blueprint or a diagram of your roof can be sufficient.
And if you don't have that either, you may need to have an invasive survey where an installer cuts into part of your ceiling.
A profiled or vaulted ceiling can make an installation more tricky, but at Sunsave we assess each situation very carefully and will only move ahead if it's guaranteed to be safe.
Number 7, still on the loft theme, but this time, does your loft have enough space? Current guidance says that the best place to put a battery and inverter is either outside or in your garage, but if you really want to, it's still possible to put the battery and inverter in your loft. You just need to have enough space up there.
Your loft needs to have a big enough hatch for your battery to fit through.
And for the installers to fit through.
Of course. Your loft will also need a gable end wall where the battery can be mounted and enough floor space for the inverter.
If your loft is currently full of dusty old boxes and knickknacks, it could be time for a clear out.
Number 8, one more on the loft theme. Does your loft have spray foam insulation? Spray foam is great at making a home more energy efficient, but it doesn't always combine well with solar.
Yes, before an installation goes ahead, your installer will need to know that your roof has a felt lining, and it needs to know if it's in good condition or whether it's full of holes. Otherwise, long term, further down the line, you could end up with some leaks.
And if you have spray foam insulation, it goes between the rafters of your roof and will potentially prevent an installer from being able to check the roof felt, so they won't know what condition it's in.
And this feeds into a more general point that your roof needs to be in a decent condition before a solar panel installation, again because of the risk of leaks further down the line. Number 9, what type of tiles does your roof have? If you have something fairly consistent in size and shape, like concrete or clay, then you're laughing. But if you have a fairly varied and characterful bunch up above you that are different shapes and sizes, you may end up with an installation that takes a bit longer and may be more expensive, but rarely impossible.
So true. Tiles can also vary in depth, size and weight, and they can also overlap with each other inconsistently, which can make it more difficult for an installer.
If you've gone for something fabulous like Yorkshire Stone or Cumbrian Slate, your installer may need to take a bit of extra time up there before they can put the panels on.
We've written a whole article about the installation process for solar panels on slate roofs. Just click it in the video description.
Don't all rush to that one at once.
And there you have it. Those are 9 big questions you should ask yourself before getting solar panels installed.
And if you can't be bothered to ask them yourself, don't worry, a good installer will do it for you.
Read our full article on whether your roof is suitable for solar panels. The link is in the video description.
And on our website, you can explore our full solar advice hub, sunsave.energy, and you can sign up for Sunsave Plus, the UK's first solar subscription.
And if you're subscribed to our channel, you'll get a steady stream of excellent videos on solar, so definitely do that.
Definitely do that. Goodbye.
Bye.